Jovan Buha! Buha!
Yo, I'm Jovan Buha, Lakers beat writer for The Athletic, and welcome to episode 11 of Buha's Block. Today, we're going to be previewing the Lakers' final 3 games of the regular season, breaking them down from a matchup perspective, a statistical perspective, and breaking down different scenarios for the Lakers depending on how they finish the season. For those who have been following the show for a bit, it'll be similar to when I previewed the potential West playoff matchups, as well as when I previewed the Lakers' 6-game East Coast road trip. With all that said, let's get into it. So first, a quick look at the standings. The Lakers are currently in 9th after losing last night to the Minnesota Timberwolves without LeBron James, and after losing Anthony Davis after the first quarter due to him re-aggravating his left eye injury. So the Lakers are 45-34. They're a game and a half behind both the Phoenix Suns and the New Orleans Pelicans, who are both 46-32. They're a half game behind the Sacramento Kings, who are 45-33, though given Sacramento has the tiebreaker, it's more like a game and a half. And they're just a game and a half ahead of the Golden State Warriors, who are 43-35, making Tuesday's matchup against the Warriors a pivotal, potentially season-defining game. Now, some head-to-head tiebreaker notes entering the final week of the season. The Lakers currently have the tiebreaker over the Phoenix Suns. They also have the tiebreaker temporarily against the Pelicans, though the regular season finale will determine who ends up with the tiebreaker between those two teams. The Lakers win, they win the season series, and they have the tiebreaker. If the Pelicans win, they tie the season series, but then due to the Pelicans having a better conference record, they get the tiebreaker. So whoever wins that one wins the tiebreaker. And then Dallas and Sacramento both own the tiebreaker over the Lakers, due to Dallas winning the season series 2-1 and Sacramento winning the season series 4-0. And finally, the Warriors currently have the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Lakers. They're up 2-1 in the season series. If they win on Tuesday, they get the head-to-head tiebreaker. If the Lakers win, the season series is tied technically 2-2, but the Lakers have the better division record, so they would win the tiebreaker. So a quick recap. Among the teams the Lakers are jockeying with, they only have the tiebreaker over the Suns. The Kings and the Mavericks have the tiebreaker over them. And then the final matchups against the Warriors and Pelicans will ultimately determine who gets those head-to-head tiebreakers. Of note, the Suns have the 3rd toughest remaining schedule. The Kings have the 9th toughest remaining schedule. The Lakers have the 15th toughest remaining schedule. The Pelicans have the 16th toughest remaining schedule. And the Warriors have the 8th easiest remaining schedule. So the Warriors by far have the easiest remaining schedule of these 5 teams. Then if the Lakers win out, they go 3-0. They need at least one of New Orleans, Sacramento, and Phoenix to go 2-2 or worse for them to jump one of those teams, which is realistic. If the Lakers win out, there's a good chance they get at least 8th, if not 7th, depending on what happens with some of those teams. If the Lakers go just 2-1, though, they need at least one of those teams to go 1-3, which seems unrealistic. So if the Lakers go just 2-1, losing to theoretically either the Warriors or the Pelicans, they're probably locked in on 9th. Unless, if they lose to the Warriors, there's a chance they even fall to 10th. We'll get into that. But the Lakers likely have to win out to jump up into the 7-8 game. And again, there's a lot of ways that this can play out, but I'm just talking in the most likely scenarios. If the Lakers go just 1-2, again, theoretically losing to the Warriors and the Pelicans, then they would need one of those 3 teams to go 0-4, which is very unlikely. And if the Lakers lose out, well, they're probably dropping to number 10, but at least stuck in the 9-10 game and not moving up. So with all that context, there's obviously a lot of ways that this can play out, and it's really going to come down to the Golden State and New Orleans games. The Lakers taking care of their own business. If they win out, they give themselves a shot to move up. But those are going to be tough games. Golden State is playing well lately. New Orleans could have Brandon Ingram back by that game. It's also a road game. So no assurances for LA. Really, the only one is Memphis, but they just beat Milwaukee a few days ago, and I'm going to touch on that. So the Lakers should go at least 1-2 and more likely 2-1, winning either the Golden State or New Orleans games. But losing one of those would potentially have a significant impact on the standings and how things shake out for LA. With all that context now, let's get into each remaining matchup and break it down. First, a quick breakdown of the Lakers, similar to the breakdowns I'm going to be doing for each team. LA is 45-34. They are 11-4 in their previous 15 games. They are 6th in offense, 12th in defense, and 10th in net rating over that span. And the only notable injuries for LA currently are Jared Vanderbilt and Christian Wood, though Gabe Vincent has still been managed on back-to-backs. LeBron James is obviously dealing with the flu and still has that ongoing left ankle peroneal tendinopathy. And AD has his foot and hip injuries that he's been dealing with, as well as now this eye injury. But in terms of availability, the Lakers should have all those guys available the rest of the way, barring another setback for AD or LeBron re-injuring that ankle. First up on the slate is the Golden State Warriors on Tuesday, April 9th. This is, in my opinion, the most important remaining game for the Lakers this season, just because if they lose this game, there's a decent chance they fall to number 10, even if they win their final 2 games. If the Warriors win out, which is realistic based on their schedule, they will jump the Lakers, and maybe the Lakers, maybe someone else struggles and drops a couple games and the Lakers jump that team as well. But losing to Golden State and Golden State winning out would basically lock the Lakers into the 9-10 game, which is not where they want to be. A quick rundown of Golden State. They are 43-35, 23-16 on the road. They're 10-5 in their last 15 games, so right behind the Lakers, who are, again, 11-4. They're 8th in offense, 8th in defense, and 8th in net rating. The season series is 2-1 Warriors with a plus 24 margin for Golden State. Though remember, LeBron James didn't play in one of those games, and Anthony Davis left in the last one after the first quarter with the same eye injury that he just left the Minnesota game with. The last 4 road games for the Warriors, they beat Charlotte, they beat San Antonio, and they beat Houston, and then they lost to Dallas. And the only real notable injury for them is Dario Saric. Andrew Wiggins and Steph just rested a game against Utah, but Jonathan Kuminga's back, and for the most part, they are finally healthy. This is almost a play-in game with the stakes and the impact it could have on the standings for both of these teams. Because again, as I mentioned, the Warriors have the 8th easiest remaining schedule. They play the Blazers and the Jazz, which should be 2 wins for them. And then if they beat the Lakers, the 4th game is a home game against the Pelicans, who might not have Brandon Ingram, haven't been playing as well lately without Ingram. So that could be a 4-0 slate for the Warriors, which would then push them up to at least number 9, if not number 8, depending on what happens with the other teams in the West. Since the Lakers saw the Warriors last, they have made a change to the starting lineup. Rookie big man Trace Jackson Davis is now starting. With Jackson Davis starting, I'm interested in the matchups. Like, do the Lakers go AD on Trace Jackson Davis? Do they go AD on Draymond? I suspect that D'Lo will start on Brandon Pajemski. Austin will start on Steph, and Rui will probably get the Andrew Wiggins matchup. Then it's just a matter of LeBron and AD matching up with Draymond and Jackson Davis. I would guess that maybe LeBron gets the Draymond assignment and AD gets the Jackson Davis assignment just because he's a bigger body. Warriors are going to do a lot of screen and rolling with him and Steph. Could also do it with Draymond, but Jackson Davis is a bit more dangerous as a finisher in terms of his rolling and his slipping. So I could see AD getting that matchup, and then LeBron being the low man depending on where Draymond is on the floor. There's, of course, a level of familiarity with these two teams. They matched up in the play-in tournament in 2021. They played in the Western Conference semifinals last year. They've already played 3 times this season, and LeBron and Steph have had this rivalry now for about a decade, and this is just the latest chapter in it. Both teams have been playing well recently, though if you look at their schedules, they have eased up a bit, and most of their wins have been coming against lottery-level teams, though the Lakers have notable recent wins against the Bucks, the Pacers, and the Cavs, and the Warriors have notable recent wins against the Mavericks, the Heat, and the Magic. To me, there are 3 X factors in this game. It's going to be the rebounding battle, the free throw battle, and the 3-point battle. The Warriors are the best rebounding team in the league over the past 15 games and 3rd in offensive rebounding. On the season, they are the 2nd best rebounding team and 3rd in offensive rebounding, so that's in line with their season-long trends. But as we know, the Lakers have struggled on the glass at various points this season, and with Golden State having such good rebounding perimeter players, be it Kuminga, Wiggins, Pajemski, Gary Payton II. They have these guys who are active and energetic and quick and will slither in there. And if the Lakers perimeter guys aren't locked in defensively and boxing out and not leaking out, then that's going to be an issue, right? Like the Warrior, I could envision the Warriors having a successful game in terms of getting 8, 10, 12 offensive rebounds and that leading to 14, 16, 20 second chance points, and that could swing the game alone. Now, an advantage for the Lakers in this matchup is that they lead the league in free throw rate over the last 15 games. The Warriors are 30th. And then defensively, the Lakers are second in free throw rate allowed, meaning the second fewest free throw attempts allowed on a per possession basis. And Golden State is ninth, so that is a bit of a strength for Golden State as well in terms of not fouling. But the Lakers basically get to the free throw line a lot and barely foul. Golden State never gets to the free throw line but barely fouls. So it's an interesting chess match there, where if the Lakers can have a decisive advantage at the free throw line in terms of both makes and attempts, that is a category I could see also potentially swinging this matchup. And then finally, I look at the three-point battle, where the Lakers are fourth in three-point percentage over the last 15 games. The Warriors are sixth. So Lakers have actually shot the three better in terms of percentage. But Golden State is 15th in three-point attempts per 100 possessions, and the Lakers are 26th. So Golden State has the edge in terms of volume. And as we've seen countless times through the years with Steph and Clay, it just takes one of those two getting hot to decide a game. Both teams have struggled defending the three recently in terms of allowing attempts. They're both bottom 7 in terms of three-point attempts allowed per 100 possessions. So that's another factor here, though I think that does give the Warriors a little bit of an edge just because they're more comfortable taking 40, 45 threes, where on most nights you're going to see the Lakers between like 25 to 35 attempts. Steph is in a shooting slump by his standards, shooting about 38% on threes over the last 15 games. But Clay is close to 40% and is starting to look more like himself. And he played really well in that last game in LA. So to me, I think like the Lakers defense against Golden State's offense, the top blocking and chasing Steph and Clay around screens, the way that they defend the 4-on-3 scenarios when Draymond and Trayce Jackson-Davis are slipping out and making those high-level reads, like there's just that chess match defensively, and then offensively for the Lakers, I think it's putting pressure on the rim, trying to get Draymond in foul trouble, and trying to just live in the paint and at the free throw line. But also, I think being a little bit more aggressive in generating and just taking more threes. It's tough to predict this game based on the regular season results, just because we've only seen one healthy-ish game from the two sides, and that was the first matchup, which went to double overtime, and the Lakers won that one in San Francisco. But the second matchup, no LeBron. Third matchup, AD exits after the first quarter. So looking at that, I would give the Lakers a slight edge. They are a really good home team, though Golden State has actually been really good on the road. They've been better on the road than they've been at home this season. But I would give the Lakers the slight edge in this matchup. I just think that, as we've seen, their size and physicality overwhelms the Warriors, and them just getting to the free throw line and dominating points in the paint and just having a level of size that is difficult for the Warriors to match up with, to me, gives them the slight edge in this one. But these matchups have been close over the last couple of years, like even going back to the playoff series. If Lonnie Walker doesn't have that game 4, it's potentially a 7-game series, and who knows what happens at that point. So I think this is the biggest remaining game for LA, and a game that will potentially determine how realistic it is for the Lakers to go on a run through the play-in and then the playoffs. Game number 2 is against the Memphis Grizzlies in Memphis on Friday, April 12th. Memphis is 13th in the West at 27-51. They are just 9-29 at home. Similar to the Warriors, they are a better road team than they are a home team. They're just 5-10 in their last 15 games, including ranking 27th in offense, 20th in defense, and 25th in net rating. The season series is 2-1 in the Lakers' favor with a margin of plus 25 for LA. Last 4 at home for the Grizzlies. They lost to OKC, they lost to the Lakers, they beat Detroit, and they lost to Philly. Notable injuries, too many to list. The Grizzlies actually had 13 guys not dress the last game that they played, including Ja Morant, Triple J, Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart. So there are some notable injuries for them. We'll see who's available. With the Lakers' luck, I'm sure some of those guys will be back and try to spoil the end of the Lakers season. But I'm not going to spend too much time on this one, honestly, because this is a game the Lakers should win. The Grizzlies are not a good team. They're banged up. They're playing a bunch of G League guys. And if the Lakers beat the Warriors and beat the Pelicans, but somehow lose this game, then they deserve to stay in the 9-10 game and not advance. The Grizzlies are basically tanking. And if the Lakers drop this game, that's a level of unseriousness that at this point in the season just shouldn't be happening. Now, Memphis did recently beat Milwaukee in Milwaukee, and the Bucks are jostling for the number 2 seed in the East, and they did so by dominating the rebounding battle and the free throw battle. It's tough to do that against LA, at least from a free throw perspective, but there's an outside chance that Memphis has another outlier shooting performance, and maybe the game is called a little bit tighter and the free throw battle is closer and like the game's close. But I think they're going to need Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. to both be available to have any shot against the Lakers. And with LA having a couple days of rest in between games, I think this is a game they should win and should win decisively. Which brings us to game number 3, the regular season finale against the New Orleans Pelicans on Sunday, April 14th. The Pelicans are number 7 in the West, tied with the Phoenix Suns at 46-32, though Phoenix holds the head-to-head tiebreaker. The Pelicans are 21-18 at home. They're also a better road team. Kind of a weird trend with the 3 teams that the Lakers are playing. They're 8-7 in their last 15 games. 15th in offense, 14th in defense, and 14th in net rating. The season series is 2-1 in the Lakers' favor, with the margin being plus 41 for LA. Last 4 home games for the Pelicans, they've lost to Boston, Phoenix, Orlando, and San Antonio. And that is because the notable injury that they're dealing with is Brandon Ingram, who has missed the last 9 games with a bone bruise in his knee and is expected to miss at least 1 more game, if not more. Najee Marshall also missed a game recently with a shoulder injury. We'll see if he's available. Both teams will likely enter this game with seeding on the line. There's a chance that they're tied and that this game will determine who's in the 7-8 versus who's in the 9-10. This will determine who wins the head-to-head tiebreaker, as I mentioned before. And you could argue that this is as important as the Golden State game, if not even more. I just think that the Golden State game is slightly more important because LA can put them away. Whereas if LA loses that one and still wins this one, there's a chance they end up 10th in the West, and that's a disaster scenario. So to avoid dropping, LA has to win that Golden State game. If they lose to Golden State, there's a chance they drop. If they beat Golden State, there's almost no scenario they drop. Realistically, I think the Lakers need to win that Golden State game to at least stay at number 9. As for the Pelicans recently, they are 4-5 without Brandon Ingram in the lineup. He could be back on Sunday against the Lakers. With the Lakers' luck, again, everyone returns against them, and it will be a pivotal game. So it wouldn't just be, oh, he's coming back to play the Lakers. It's like the Pelicans need to win, and they've been losing games without Ingram. They had been playing well before his injury. They'd been in that 4-5 matchup with the Clippers, and now they've slipped all the way to 7th with the potential to slip into number 8 or number 9. So it's going to be a huge game for the Pelicans, and I would not be surprised if Ingram is back by then. On the season, the Pelicans are 12th in offense, 5th in defense, and 6th in net rating. So they do profile as a dark horse championship contender. I don't think anyone views them in that way, but it is just worth noting that this is a better team than I think people realize. With that all said, I think this is a good matchup for the Lakers, especially LeBron. We saw what he did in the in-season tournament semifinals. We saw what he did in that game before the All-Star break that the Lakers won. That was the game, remember, where the Lakers had all 5 starters score 20-plus points, which was the first time that had happened in a game since 1993. The Pelicans have a lot of elite defensive talent. That's why they've been a top 5 defense overall. But a lot of those guys are rangy and wiry and slender, and like they just don't have that strength and physicality to match up with AD and LeBron and Rui. And I think that's going to be a factor here. The Lakers have blown out the Pelicans twice this season, once in Vegas, once in LA, though the Pelicans also blew out the Lakers in New Orleans and have had success against the Lakers in New Orleans in recent seasons. Zion is playing much better recently. He's looking like an all-star and fringe all-NBA type guy again. CJ McCollum is also playing really well, shooting the ball really well. The Lakers have the edge in three-point percentage, but both of these teams are low-volume three-point shooting teams, and they have some similar strengths. They both like to get to the free throw line. They both like to score in the paint. They both play bigger front courts. Where I could see the Pelicans having the advantage is they're both a low turnover team and a high steal team. So that's one way that they swing the possession game, is they're not going to turn the ball over, but they're going to turn you over. They live in transition, and they're good at getting to the rim, finishing in the paint. LA can struggle both defending the rim and defending in transition. So if the Lakers aren't careful with their turnovers and taking care of the ball. So if the Lakers aren't careful with taking care of the ball and getting back in transition, this is a game that could simply go in New Orleans' favor just from a math perspective. Similar to the Warriors, the Pelicans allow a lot of three-point attempts. They're actually 30th in the NBA in terms of three-point attempts allowed over the last 15 games. So that's a factor here, where if the Lakers are more aggressive from the three-point line with how they've been shooting the ball recently, they can get up 35, 40, even close to 45 attempts, that could be an X factor for LA's offense. So this is going to be another close one between a team that has not been great on the road versus a team that's not been great at home, with stakes and seeding on the line. Again, this could be the difference between being in the 7-8 game versus being in the 9-10 game, which has drastic implications. If I had to make a prediction, I think the Lakers go 2-1 over the final 3 games, probably beat Golden State, but lose to New Orleans in the finale. I think it's close. It could go either way. For the Lakers, the better scenario would be beating Golden State and losing to New Orleans, because at least you preserve the number 9 seed. But I'm not sure. LA has just not been a good road team, and I think that's the difference there. But they could easily go 3-0. They could go 2-1 and lose the Golden State game and win the New Orleans game. But if they beat Golden State and lose to New Orleans, go 2-1, they're at least likely to be number 9 and not drop to number 10, and then potentially jump up to number 8 if Phoenix, Sacramento, or even New Orleans struggles with the rest of their matchups. But for those watching on YouTube, drop a comment with your prediction for the final 3 games. And for those listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or another podcast platform, let me know on Twitter what your prediction is for the final week of the season. That'll do it for today's show. Thank you so much for watching and listening. For those on YouTube, please consider subscribing, hitting that notification bell so you know when I'm dropping each video. Also, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button and drop a comment. And for those listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, please consider following, downloading, and leaving a 5-star review. I'll be back Tuesday night with a post-game reaction after the Lakers-Warriors game. I'll talk to you then.